I guess we can get started. There's only one question came through. And it was about occupancy forecasting, accessibility issues, ESA, and third party housing contracts. So we're able to, I don't know if everybody's able to do this, but we don't do third-party housing contracts. We don't have a PSA at our school. But occupancy forecasting, accessibility issues, ESA, we track a lot of that through our housing software through StartRes. It gives you the option to mark if they have a paw print, if they're an accessibility animal, and you can actually upload the picture so you can see what the animal looks like in case it's like running around campus. You can be like, oh, that spot, he belongs to Joe in Cayuga. So it's lovely. And then accessibility issues, and we work with our accessibility office a lot. And they help us with letting us know, like, without breaking any violations, what a student needs, like a single with a bathroom, a single with a private bathroom. I'm very lucky. A lot of schools don't have that relationship with accessibility. And then occupancy forecasting, I can do most of that through my software, and I work with admissions. But that's what we do at Mooresville. So not sure what you guys do.
Oh, this is more of a, more like a practice that we have here at Vassar, maybe just thinking about occupancy and forecasting. We're a highly residential campus. About 97% of our students live on campus, and we are typically at capacity. But we do meet at least twice a semester, if not 3 times a semester, with our folks from finance, with folks from JYA, with folks from the registrar, with folks from the Dean of Studies office here who do class advising, and then residential life is represented. And in that, we do a variety of kind of like updates with one another in terms of what our numbers look like, how many students are going abroad, and what that impact might look like on housing, the number of students who might be taking a leave. And that kind of like collaboration with offices that are not under my responsibilities and not in my division has been incredibly helpful in making sure that our numbers match up across the board in terms of those expectations. So there's it's been in place for a while. It's gotten stronger with the most recent kind of hiring of our director for budgets here, who works in the finance office, who has a major interest in understanding our numbers. So just offering out there, I don't know if folks have that kind of collaboration with other offices across when thinking about forecasting. But it is a helpful relationship to have.
Please, I concur. We do something similar. We do a quarterly, it's just our enrollment projection team, and it includes people from admission, our budget and finance office, provost office, everybody, where we're looking at, we have our EPR model where we kind of just look at it, put the numbers in the snake and see what comes out on the other end. But basically we're running a 3-year average of, what our enrollment is from year to year, how many students study abroad, how many students we get for exchange, what is our typical transfer numbers like, all that stuff. We run the 3-year average to make those projections. And then we roll in occupancy based off of that too. So I agree. If you can get a system in place with campus partners, it goes a long way, because there's part of the language that we do that they have no clue about. It took a little educating on our end, so which was good.
We don't have a housing software. We have 415, 430 on campus. So we do things manually. So every Monday we run an occupancy report. We use Excel. We pull information from our from colleague, which is our campus CRM. That's the word I was looking for. And this year it looked like we were trending lower for our applications for fall, but then we went back and did a 5-year comparison, and we just really had a, last year was a higher applicant year, and we actually put people in a hotel. So we just went back to our 5-year and looked like we're not lower in our numbers. So I think it just helps to have that history if you don't have a CRM that you're using as well. Do you all have ESAs that come in mid-semester, mid-year as well?
Yeah. While we do have our suggested dates for applications, it's rolling. Our Housing Accommodation Committee meets right now, second Friday of every month, with the exception of we don't meet in August, we don't meet in December. We kind of find those 2 months like off limits, you know. So someone could apply, they get to campus and realize, you know, and we do see it where somebody gets approved for one, is on the hallway, and we'll get another student on that same hallway who will apply, or their friends and things like that. So we'll get them mid-semester, mid-year. But those are the ones that are probably the more difficult to approve because they don't have the appropriate documentation and they're kind of scrambling for things. And then we also have to have roommate agreements to agree to have the animal, because once that's already established, the roommate could say no, and then that creates a tough rub for that student. Well, they can get approved, but the roommate says no, so then they can't bring the animal until there's a room change later on. So, but we do get them, not many. I think this year we've gotten 3 as the year started. So we had one student come mid-semester with one, but yeah, that's it.
So, sorry guys, I had to step out, but coming back in. The other thing is, I don't know if you guys use Teams or anything at your campus, but the one thing we have taken away from COVID is sometimes it's easier just to throw a meeting on Teams. For us, we use Microsoft Teams here. So our accessibility meeting is every 3 weeks. It's on Teams. So literally I can be like walking across campus if I had to and be listening. I normally just put my earbuds in so no one can hear what's being just addressed because of confidentiality. And I always say, like, guys, I'm walking across campus, so I can't respond. Because I don't want to like put out information they can't hear, but a lot of times we can just do a Teams meeting. We do have to have UP as part of our accessibilities committee. So what happens is all the paperwork gets filled out with accessibility services. She then brings it, it's a woman right now that's in that role. She then brings it to this committee, which is 5 of us. And we discuss, like, 1, do they have a roommate? 2, how many do we already have on that floor? Do I have to move the student so that we can accommodate the animal? We just approved a hamster the other day. That was so much fun. I'm waiting for this thing to get lost in my building and want to like somebody. But anyways, we meet. The reason why we have UP there is we have one of our officers is a dog. So we would always want UP to be aware of, like, if they get to a room, there could be another dog on the other side. And we do the difference between ESA and service. And then we meet for our occupancy forecast. We just started our meetings back up. They start in February and they go until August, and they're every other week. And it's like registrar's office, residence life, admissions, student accounts, financial aid, a whole bunch of us. I think there's 2 deans on it, our 2 academic deans. And we meet, and admissions tells us where they're at. We tell them where they're at with housing applications. And it makes it so it's a very open communication. So that way, when a student reaches out to one of our offices, we kind of already know the answer for the other office. So, and they're like half an hour meetings. Half the time we're done in 15 minutes, especially the accessibility meetings. Like, she'll be like, there's 2. This is all we're talking about. Let's go. And we'll be done. And she'll be like, here, you get 20 minutes of your day back. And it's awesome. The forecasting meetings last about 20-25 minutes, but again, we only book a half an hour, but it is a nice time to get everything together. Oh, welcome weekend committee chair is also on the forecasting group. We're called Freeze. very entertaining word, right? So it does help just having that communication. I don't know if you guys are Google campus or if you're a Microsoft Office campus, but we like do so much in Teams at Morrisville, so much. So just putting that out there. Sometimes it's nice to have those connections. It's nice to turn your camera on because sometimes you can't meet in person, but you can be in your office eating lunch and knocking out a meeting in 20 minutes. Was there anything else anybody brought up that is there any questions anybody has that they want to throw out to the group? Anybody have a dumpster fire with an electrical unit hooked into it, making it burn more? I mean, how can we help?
So does it feel like since the pandemic, there's just some crazy stuff that keeps happening, or did we not pay attention to it before this? Like just when I think I've seen it all, I haven't seen it all. And I've been doing this like 25 years. I don't understand. Is it just me?
No, because conduct and Rose Life want to write a book of stuff we can't tell people, but this really is happening. Like people don't know. I think the student has changed a little bit, and I think that we have a lot of students that don't know resources because for so long they couldn't leave to get resources. And sorry, I don't know what that was. There was something in my office. And then mental health is very high. Like for so long they were so dependent because they had no other option to be dependent on their family because that's all they were stuck with. And it was a very important time in their life for growth. So we're thinking it's that. And then we have two ends of the spectrum. We have students who have nobody for support. And then we have students who have people that are, I don't even know what the parents are called anymore. They're not lawnmowers, they're not helicopters, they're not, what is the new phrase for a parent? Because I feel like they're a drone with like a firing device. So I don't know what else to call them at this point, but we're past lawnmowers and snow plows and helicopters. Like I think we're at drones with like shooting devices. I don't know. Like they're gonna like light your butt on fire if you don't do what they want.
We just have a lot more parents calling. And then, so we had a water from a shower in our suite style leak down into the suite below it. And so we moved people to a hotel and we're paying for the hotel because we're at like 97% occupancy right now. So we don't even have space to move people. But, and then they want compensation as well because we moved them. And I'm like, if you were in an apartment off campus, you wouldn't even get paid for the hotel. Like the landlord doesn't, is it just like they want compensation for the littlest things? It's just really weird too. And then the parent calling, like we've never even heard from a student that there's an issue in their suite and the parents are calling to complain about it. And we're like, we would have fixed that months ago if the student had just told us. It's just really weird to me. I don't know. I have 3 teenagers. My kids are 16, 17, 18, and I've like made them speak for themselves at the doctors and, like all that stuff because I've worked in residence life for so long. And I'm just like, I want my kids to have a voice. I don't understand why other parents don't want their kids to have a voice. And I'm stepping off my soapbox.
That's why we need a new name for these parents because it's more. I mean, I was just dealing with an RA's dad. That's why I had to get off the phone. And I was like, if she just walks in my office and talk to her. And they don't understand that, like, I don't know if this is like everybody else's, but like, I can't talk to a parent about a residential thing without talking to the student. I'm sorry. Thank you for your concerns. I will email the student and CC you on it, but can you please have the student come see me? And I will work with them and we will fix it and it'll be lovely and we can call you when they're in my office. But yeah, no, we have a lot more parent calls. Like I hear from parents more than I hear from students. And I know parents are reading their emails because they're responding to the email I send them, the student. And then they're calling me like, you sent my child this email. Yes, I told your child that spring break is this week. Do you have any questions about it? Well, why did you email my child that? To make sure they were aware the spring break was that week and we were not going to be open. So no. And I think it is that parents got so used to being the only dependent during that time and being the voice for their child. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like it's like a pendulum swinging, you know. maybe we thought we might have hit the edge of the pendulum, and it's like, okay, oh no, it's going up a little bit further.
Mhm.
I'm hoping at some point we start to swing back, but we've been seeing this pendulum swing in this direction for a very long time, right? We've had a variety of names for parents, helicopter parents, tiger parents. I mean, like, you know, it's a variety of things that we've addressed, and perhaps the pandemic, I imagine, honed in on this kind of need, you know, to provide. One thing, and I might have mentioned this before, one thing that we don't have a lot of communication with parents prior to what we've created in terms of a parent newsletter. It was just really our folks in advancement reaching out to parents and the parents council and those kinds of things. But we've created a particular newsletter, goes out twice a semester. And it is not a rehash of events that are happening, either have happened or will happen. It is a collection of, like, you know, information parents ought to have available to them, but this encouragement to engage their own child in the conversation and ways that they can encourage their child to advocate for themselves on our campus. And so the newsletter, like, you know, like we have this particular newsletter for February focused in on belonging and engagement. And so it might provide a section on our, you know, student growth and engagement, diversity, affinity centers. But then you know, the questions are like, how have you engaged these centers? How have they, you know, contributed to your education here on campus? You know, if we're providing, here's some summer opportunities, you know, these are questions that you can ask your child about their experience here. So in some ways you know, like, I think we have to acknowledge, like, you know, for at least, you know, the pendulum, right? In terms of institutions, right? And local parentis was a thing. And then we let that go. And, you know, there is a sense, and I have to imagine it has to do with the amount that college cost, you know, that they say there's an investment I'm making, and I want to make sure that that investment has a particular kind of return on my child's future. And they deserve all of the things they need. It's the one thing actually that, you know, we have the language that we use. We're a need-blind institution, and the language from our admissions is that we will meet all demonstrated need. And that language by itself, sometimes people just assume, no longer assume that means financially. Like, that does not mean financial need. That means emotional needs, their cognitive needs, their behavioral needs, but all those things ought to be met with the price tag that y'all have put on. I mean, you know, the college here costs $90,000. You know, we'll be approaching 100K in a few years. So I imagine, yeah, pandemic, rising cost of education, and that generationally, they're just kind of building up on, you know, from parents who went from, like, latchkey, right? Pendulum. Let your child roam, and as long as you're home before the lights go down, you know, you're okay. To, you know, monitoring, you know, you get your kid gets a phone, and you say, I need to know where you're at. Put your location on. And our students do that with each other. Let me know where your location. I don't know. It's an interesting phenomenon, certainly. I don't know when we're going to swing back. I have a granddaughter who's 8 years old. She's being raised a little bit differently than her mother was, a little bit more. We call her Freedom Baby. And I'd be curious what Freedom Baby looks like as an adult and as a parent. You know, how much exposure she allows, if in fact she has a family in that way, in the future. But the pendulum has swung. I'm hoping we start seeing a little bit of a dial back at some point in time. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox. I was curious. We've had a really difficult week around, and I'm gonna, I don't know, content notice or trigger warning. We've had a significant week around suicide ideation and suicide attempts on our campus. And I think we're doing some really good work in taking care of our students as best as possible and getting them to the kind of care that they need. But I'm increasingly concerned about our on-call folks, you know, and having to respond on scene, and provide support for the student in crisis, in addition to the students who are supporting those students. I think we might have asked this before, but are folks doing anything to support their on-call teams outside of encouraging them to take a day off right after they're off duty? I have them speaking to a third party psychologist as a group to talk about their experiences and making sure they're debriefing. But just curious if folks had other things that they were doing to kind of show appreciation or provide support particularly for their entry level folks.
We're kind of having a rough time, not as much, but weird on-call stuff. So I just brought homemade cinnamon rolls and chocolate chip muffins for my whole staff today. I ordered them they love the cinnamon rolls. There's 4 in a box. They're like as big as my head. So I brought those. If I start seeing someone having a rougher day, even after we do the debriefings, I do bring up what's available through HR in our union, like the EAP services and stuff like that. I have had to send one person home and I'm like, I get that you don't want to be on campus, so go away. Just go away for the day. And then I do have in my bottom drawer all of their favorite candies, and all of them like candies you cannot buy at the regular gas station. And when they're in my office and they look like they're about ready to like fall asleep on me or have a sugar crash, I give them their favorite candy. And it's the little things my staff really responds to, but it's knowing your staff. And my staff is small, so I'm not having to deal with like a mass number, but we have had to send some staff home because they're exhausted or they can't stop crying or they're mad at the world. And I think it's just knowing your staff and being able to pull them in one-on-one and talk to them and say, like, I think you need to go to Barnes and Noble and read a book and get a coffee because that's like their thing. Or why don't you go take a nap? We've got you covered. But just showing that extra support. But we have also been giving the resources that are provided by the services that they have. I'm not gonna lie, I put cinnamon rolls and muffins in the thing today, and everybody has been over, and they're all like so happy. All it is a but it made their day. So we do little things, but every office is different. Has anybody thought about putting 2 people on call at the same time? Like 2 area coordinators, RDs, because of the load, or having a backup ready to go or anything? Like, has anybody thought about that? Because
Yeah, we
that
have
was brought up in my last staff meeting, is like when it gets to be too much for the person that's on because of everything they're dealing with, like having someone that's about ready to trade off with them. I don't know.
we have a second tier backup administrator on call. And that's me. And in my team's role, I have a case manager on call with me, and our director of community expectations and director of residential education serve as like the second tier. And we're responsible particularly for communication when it needs to go out, whether that's to other offices and especially when it needs to go to parents. So we handle all of those things in addition to outreach to student afterwards, just to kind of follow up with them. So that seems to work, but I imagine, yeah, I'd be curious if they thought we needed to be on scene a little bit more with them when they're on call. That's something that we don't do a lot of. BAOCs that generally don't go on scene. We're just kind of the phone call that, and again, the follow-up. But I'm curious what other folks are doing in terms of both their on-call initial people. That's an interesting idea to have 2 people. I don't know how they would feel about being on call more.
They brought it up. We have the double tier where we have an administrator on call. So 2 things that were brought up to us is having someone that they could call if they need to tag team like their own level, to have someone else that was on campus with them. But another thing is they did ask us to come to campus more. So now when I get those calls, it's myself and 2 other people. We rotate every 3 weeks we're on. It is like, that's now one of the questions we ask them. Do you need us there? And sometimes we just need to be there to support them, not to support the situation we found. Because like the call I got in the other night, they just want me to come and support them. And I was like, I got you. Be there in 20. But that is what we're talking. Like, I was shocked that they brought that up because I was like, you don't want to be on call any more than you are. But they brought up like just knowing who else is on campus in case they need to like get someone quicker there. Then I'm the furthest out at 20 minutes. The other 2 people that are on the administrative are 10 and 5. So when I'm on, it's a little bit harder because I'm 20 minutes out. But I was just wondering if anybody had like something like that, like who else is on the campus that is at the same level as you in case you need backup or anything like that. And does your second tier report to campus if needed?
So we restructured this year with the loss of a couple positions. So we now have 4 graduate students at our first tier level. And it's interesting because 3 out of the 4 have never done anything like this. But we do have, I was like shocked when I came here. There's a phenomenal on-call guide that all levels utilize, and we added RAs to that on-call guide this summer, so they can see exactly what should be happening. Everybody knows their exact steps. But we also have that second tier level that we pushed up our area coordinators to. So because there were going to be 3, and I was like, I'm not doing 3, like 3, I don't want to wear myself out, along with knowing that we will come to campus and support. So our area coordinators are now in that second tier. So we're on every 5-ish weeks. Our dean of students has a house on campus. Myself and our director of student conduct, we are both in that as well. We both also live about a half hour, 35 minutes away from campus. So we do a lot of support on the phone, but we have come to campus. So without even asking, right? Like drop of the hat, we're on call. We know that we're going to be coming to campus. And I think when we show up, that shows the support that we have for them. And then typically, like if I know I'm on call, I'm staying later, I'm going to go to events and show support in those ways. Just so they know, right? Like it's okay. I think the building of relationships, what I found at my last job is like, people, I don't want to bother you. I don't want to bother you. I feel like I'm bothering you. Like you're literally not bothering me. It's literally my job. So trying to build that relationship where there's this comfort of calling up to a supervisor too.
Hi, Stephen. Okay, anything else, anybody? Is there anything else anybody's doing to support their staff when they're in, I mean, to be honest, they're handling a crisis, so they could be considered in crisis mode.
Have folks received training on, on how to debrief effectively post-crisis or post-on-call? Like are we trained to lead those conversations? And who's done that kind of training for y'all? And has it been effective if you are utilizing those skills?
Our university police does all of it. Our chief is very much into debriefing. And so he comes to our pro staff training and does a debriefing. And also, he also does it with the RAs of like how to go through it. And then we have our pro staff does the QRP. I don't ever remember the order of the letters. Training to handle like suicide ideation. UPR, thank you. Sorry, it's one of those days. So, but yes, we go through debriefing training and we actually, it changes is what Chief tells us. So we get a refresher every year. And he has like an outline. So when he pulls a meeting, we go through it too, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. But I guess I'm very lucky that here they are very wanting to make sure that yes, the situation was handled, but one, how can we handle it differently in the future to make it a better outcome if possible? And also, is everybody okay that handled the situation? So I guess I'm lucky.
If you're looking for something different than QPR, because I actually wasn't satisfied with QPR, University of Washington has a program called Learn. It's an acronym. look for signs, empathize, ask about suicide, reduce the danger, next steps. And we did it for the first time this year. We did a 90-minute session. They offer 3 different lengths of sessions, and we did it all virtually. So the RAs during RA training went back to their rooms. We did it like after lunch, so they could just go back to their rooms after lunch and got on their computers, and they talked for a bit, and then they put us into groups, into breakout sessions, and gave us scenarios and had them practice communication, and then brought us all back together and talked about it. And it was actually, I thought it was a really good improvement from just going to QPR. I've just always been a little dissatisfied with QPR because it's more data than hands-on, as from what I have witnessed. I don't know if that's the same that you've had on your campus, but if you're looking for something new, I would say that that was really good.
It's called Learn.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
it's
university, you know what, I'll look it up on their website, and then
Okay.
I'll put a link in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Anything from anybody else? Patrick, what do you have for lunch?
Salad. Unfortunately, I went and saw my doctor yesterday, and they just, made you feel oh so good. So I had a salad for lunch today.
And what happened to the wall of brick?
Oh, shifted offices. We had a new position this past year, so I split the whole 3rd floor into 2 offices and downstairs and basically a coat closet. So, but we're moving to a new space in August, so I'm surviving.
Awesome. Just was wondering because I always thought your office was pretty cool. So
We'll be on the lake next August, which will be good.
okay, so we'll need different background from you at that point.
Yep.
And I
Meredith,
could always go down to the point for a meeting, and then we could be on the lake there too.
Yeah.
Because Cuba has a beautiful,
Yeah.
like whole wall, like the whole side of the campus is a lake.
Meredith, I was gonna ask if you wanted to provide like an overview of what was covered during the state of the profession that I think we just passed. And I'm blanking out her name. I met with her yesterday. She's on the executive board and is like charged with supporting us. Oh wait, give me a second. I just want to advise folks that she has an interest in coming to meet with us maybe in March. I'm gonna have some Akuhoi representation. Tell her?
Casey is
Casey, yeah,
yeah,
Casey.
Casey Tulos.
Tulos,
Yep,
yeah.
she's our new board member. So I think she'd be a great person to come and chat with this group sometimes. I wish I could share some things about state of the profession. That did wrap up last week, but then a lot of our staff is on site at another event this week, and so I haven't been able to connect too much with my colleagues about how things went. So I don't know if you have anything that stood out that you want to share, but.
Oh, I didn't get a chance to go. I wish I would have gone, considering that I'm not going to ACE this year. It would have been helpful to go there. But has anyone been able to attend State of the Profession? This is one of those things that, like, I think at small schools we may be a little bit of a disadvantage, especially if you plan to attend the Kuhoi. State of the Profession is pricey. Patrick?
Exactly. I did the 2 on Zoom, but when it's $800 for 2.5 days, and then you got to stay somewhere, it's a big dollar.
What were
I did
the
one of those
sessions on
meetings, but I
Zoom?
didn't, so.
What were the Zoom sessions?
No, they did 2 during COVID. They were on Zoom. So
Oh, okay.
for those 2
Gotcha,
years,
gotcha.
I did it on Zoom. The last 2 years they've been in person. It's just pricey.
Let's see if I can find something.
Well, I'll take that as my cue to share in the chat about the Small College and University Symposium coming up in April. So registration just opened last week and a half ago. I know a couple names on this call are already on the registration list, so thank you for that. We're working on some content. Our keynote speaker recently wrote a report for the Chronicle about surviving as a small school. So we're kind of theming our topics around surviving and thriving at small institutions. And so more information coming soon, but registration open, very affordable, especially for teams. Yeah. And April 17th is when that is, in the noon to 5 Eastern window there.
Yeah. One of the things that did come up for Casey and I yesterday in conversation, and I didn't know, where folks were at in terms of their own institutions, was just a curiosity, and or B, if this is a space. I've often mentioned Vassar and kind of like the really fortunate and privileged space that the institution is in, and the resources that we have available. But a curiosity about, like given some of the, what is it, the cliff, that we're concerned about, and we see small schools closing, about just where your own institutions are at financially, and if there are particular concerns that you have, ways that maybe as an association we can support you, in the work that you're doing, and or there are other things. But again, I don't know, like I don't ever want to sound like I'm boasting, and sometimes I could feel that way because of what we have available to us here. But I'm genuinely interested and in many ways concerned about small colleges and universities and their capacity to sustain themselves. So if your institution is in that kind of place, and it is also causing you some level of distress, I just want to make sure that you feel like this is a place that you really say, hey, yeah, we're struggling here, and this is how that's impacting me and the work that we do here. So that, I don't know if folks want to disclose, but putting it out there on the table. Should I assume that we're all good financially? I mean,
It's hard. So we can go to anything that's SUNY related, like our state stuff. But to go to stuff outside of that, it's like we have to pick. So sometimes we have to let stuff fall to the wayside. Like I'm getting more involved in like regional stuff now, more than national stuff, because I can normally get approval more for the regional than the national because of the cost. And I know that organizations are doing the most efficient they can with cost, because these events are very expensive to do. But when you have like the national for KUI is this much, and the national for NASPA is this much, and the national for ACPA is this much, and then you've got like software, so Maxia is this much, StarRes is this much, and like they're across the country from you, so then it's airfare and everything. I think that's why, like when you go to ACE, for example, you're going to have a lot more of the regional people show up, but they might not show up when it's across the country from them. Because like I was so excited to go last year because it was across the country from me, and I got to meet people in person that I've never met in person before because they weren't able to come across the country to me. You know what I mean? So like, I think it's, we sit down as a division and we figure out who's going to what and where funding's going. And I love being part of this organization because with the Small College Symposium, it's online. That is a very cost-efficient way for me to professionally develop my staff. So I love the online option. I kind of wish some of the other stuff through KUI could be online for cost efficiency, because I would love to go to more things, but I can't afford to go to regional and national and then go to these special things. Like we just can't afford to do all of that. So I don't know if that's something we could ever look at. Or having a rate that's like, this is the online rate and this is the in-person rate. I don't know. It's just some things I've been wondering, like, it would be nice to be able to go to more things. It's just, there's only so much budget. Like we are fine, but we also have to be realistic of, do I want our hall redone or do I want to go professional development semester? So I'm gonna pick the hall getting redone right now because I got a hall that needs to be painted from like 1950. Well, that's the color palette they're using. We're changing the palette. It does get painted since 1950, but you know what I mean. So that's kind of where we're at, but we could be different than anybody. It was kind of like what Patrick was saying, like during COVID, I could attend so much more because there was so much online and it was like 25, 50 bucks, 100 bucks. No big deal. I can afford that. But now that it's back in person, which is great, I can't always afford to do the airfare, the hotel, the food, and the conference.
Well, we do have in the spring coming up, I'll share. So in addition to the small school symposium, we will do a virtual live-in staff symposium, which might apply for some of your teams. And then I'm pulling up the link right now. If any of you have attended or are familiar with our multicultural symposium that we have done in the past, we're doing a little rebranding this year. So the one symposium, which actually, you know, we talked about ESAs and some other accessibility things, accommodation things. This spring, that symposium will focus on disabilities in campus housing and solutions and things. So another online option that might work. And all of those offer some team passes. So yeah.
Good stuff. So one of the America that, you know, I don't know if we'd be able to collect any information from SOP, but there was a conversation about AI in Res Life. So I'd be curious to hear what people are doing there, and how they're applying AI to their work. Curious if anybody's doing that in particular ways.
So my husband is
Yeah.
faculty. I'll tell you how my husband's doing it. He's faculty, and he has completely improved his syllabus, and he's a graphic design faculty, and also like the fun things that they create in their classroom. He like went whole hog last semester a little bit, and this semester he uses Chat GPT and whatever else all the time, like multiple times a day. He tries to like finesse it, and then he teaches his students how to do that too. I'm trying to figure out how to do it into my world besides you know, resume stuff, but you can drop any language in and then ask for synopsis or like what am I missing kind of things, and it's just kind of amazing what it comes up with.
Yeah, at Vassar, it's I'm teaching a class this semester called Practicing Restorative Justice, and as I was developing the syllabus, you know, professors are more than encouraged to have a statement about AI use, and you could say either no, you could do what I did, like use it, just cite it, just let me know that you're using it. But I have certainly found, like, you know, something like if you have a lot of written text and you just feel like you want to, you know, tweak it, you know, it's an interesting, you know, you could say, I need to AI, to ChatGPT, I need you to act like a pedagogical genius and construct this, help me to revise elements of the syllabus to ensure that I'm being, you know, that I'm keeping equity in mind or something like that. And it'll give you some ideas. Whether you use the totality of that language is something different, but it's a really powerful tool. But I believe in making sure people know, like, hey, this was AI was involved. This what you see in front of you. Yeah. My son's convinced that in about 10 years, all the programs that we see, like TV, like shows that we see, will be AI produced. AI
No more
generated.
actors.
No, they'll have the image and likeness of those actors, but yeah, interesting. Thank you for that, though, Debbie. I appreciate it.
Has anybody seen with their RA applications, the students don't delete out, this is what I found on the website, and it literally quotes, and then they just copy and paste and put it in the application? Has anybody else seen that, or is that just me? Because we had 3 applications that show up that says per G chat, whatever it is, this is the answer we found of how to be the best resident assistant in a community. And they literally like copied and pasted and dropped it right into the application. And I'm like, okay, I'm so happy that you had AI help you so that it was like full sentences and stuff like that. Because that's the other thing. We get ones that are like should function emails to, messages to us. But I was just like, if you're going to like use AI, which is great, can you not say that you used AI or like not write the whole question in the, it was, we had a good giggle over applications for the spring because there were 3 of them like that.
Ours are due next week, so we haven't seen ours yet.
Just be prepared, you might have that, which is fine. And we had a whole conversation with them, like it's totally fine because one of them was able to explain that they didn't know that they were going to have to do these things in the community. But after reading the response, they were like, that's cool. And they were able to bring it to their interview. So it was like a 50-50 win, but it was also very entertaining that they copied and pasted it. So.
I just shared, I don't know if any of you listened to the Student Affairs Now podcast ever, but they did just a couple months ago, maybe, one about AI in student affairs. And so kind of interesting how different things are using it. One of the global organizations I'm a part of also hosted a session around that same time about AI, and it's fascinating.
Mailers are a great way to package your products.
Sorry, my ads are going on YouTube now, apparently. So the global organization talked about, how campuses across the world are using AI, and it seems like especially in the review of applications through admission and things, there's a lot that it can be used for. Some campuses that I assume maybe have a few more resources have talked about, creating chatbots and other things to filter questions and emails before they reach a staff member, for the really common questions, it gets responded to automatically. So lots of possibilities out there.
I love it with my planning stuff. Not gonna lie. Like, I love it with my to-do stuff. I love it with like my schedule for home. Like I can literally talk into it. It puts it on a schedule for me. It's lovely. I like it for that kind of stuff. That's what I use it for, is like my organizational aspect. I haven't used it for anything else yet. I'm wondering if I should have like my manual put my manual through it, like my onboarding one. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now, is like what could to work smarter, not harder. I mean, that's what I'm using for at home. It's awesome. If you're a type A personality and you have to-do lists and you have to get reminders, it works great. Okay.
When it comes to the reviewing documents, I'll just say really fast. Goblin Tools is an AI feature, and you can put your text in and you can ask it to make it more formal, less formal, bullet points, a 1-sentence summary. So Goblin Tools is one to look at.
GOBLIN, like the little critter.
Like a ghost and goblin. Yep.
Okay.
Awesome.
Is there anything else?
I was just thinking about my writing. I'm 50 years old, never quite understood, 51, what it means to use my passive voice or in a sentence. And I'm like, so now ChatGPT has helped me with like understanding what it, how to switch a couple of words around and understand it, that language. Anyway, I'm glad I'll check out the tool you offered there, Meredith. Sounds good. I think we are nearing our time though. Thank y'all for joining us today. Hope to see y'all, next month. Again, we'll have Casey join us next month in terms of the exec board. So if you can I think one of her biggest questions is just how can the executive board support small schools and universities? And so if there's some thoughts about what the association can be doing, the exec board can be doing, please come with them. All right.
Is it Goblin Tools with like this little critter? I can't get my camera. Like that little critter. Can you see him?
I can see him. I've only used the website, so I don't exactly know what the app looks like. But they have that little logo on their website.
That little alien looking thing.
The little alien thing, yeah.
Okay.
And I just shared in the chat, March 14th is the next monthly call, and so the registration is there, but we'll of course share that out as we get closer to that date as well.
Well, have an amazing day, everybody.
Enjoy the rest of your week.